Blog Talk Radio.
You're listening live to ATL Prime Sports. Todd Corder here en route to Atlanta via I-75 South. JJ on the other side of the ATL. Mark Mancini in Los Angeles. And our producer Wayne in Memphis, Tennessee. You can reach all of us at ATL Prime Sports. You can reach myself at Corder Todd. JJ at JJ Get You One. Mark at Mancini Sports, and Wayne at RWY Jr. For 2 weeks. I missed hearing all your voices. I'm glad we're all back. Got a three-way race in the NL East between Atlanta, the Mets, and Philadelphia, and that looks like it's going to come down to it. And guys, let's pick who wins the NL East and why. I'll go ahead and go first. I'm going to say, golly, I'm going to say it's the Braves. I'd say have the best bullpen of the three teams. Their lineup seems to be the steadiest at the moment, and their number one starter is healthy. They seem, between them and Phillies, it's a deep rotation. But here's the reason why the Mets finished the third. No Jacob deGrom. I don't know if he'll be back again this year. Look, you've got inflammation in the shoulder. To me, that tells me you've got a structure issue. Anytime you've got inflammation in there, it's structure. If it's structure, he's probably going to need surgery. They're going to be without their ace. And then when you talk about the Mets bat, only one of them sit in the back of the baseball card. And Pete Alonso and the rest being desperately. Lombardo, Bill Baez coming over with the strikeouts, and of course Lindor's injury. So I've got Atlanta winning this, baby. How about you, JJ?
Well, if you ask me, I'm still going to go with the Mets. Their new acquisitions, I think they'll start hitting, like you said, the back of their baseball card. Baez is a great acquisition. I think he'll really come along. I know he's striking out quite a bit at the moment, but I really think as long as deGrom comes back, and there's still optimism on Noah Syndergaard getting back, and if that happens, I do think the Mets will win it. But if we're playing the if game, the Braves could get hot. They're getting healthy as well. They're still in this thing. I think they're starting to find their mojo at the right time. So I'm not going to count the Braves out. I think this will be an extremely close race till the final day of 162. I think the Braves will be in it. I think they'll be biting at the heels for a while because they do have to make up a 1.5-game skid right here, but they have the 6-game stretch homestand to do it. They play the gutted Nationals, and they play the Reds. We all know the Braves' success versus National League Central teams this season. Right now, they stand at 20-11 versus National League Central teams this year. The Braves finally did get over 500 last night with the 55th win of the season and an 8-4 win over the Cardinals, in which they got 4 walks with the bases loaded in a row to get 4 easy RBIs. So I do think the Braves are playing right at the right moment. But I'm going to stick with the Mets. I think the front-end pitching, and I think Javier Baez will come around, and Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, I think when they get hot, they can handle a whole entire lineup. And deGrom hasn't been yet found structural damage. And until they find structural damage, I'm going to say he comes back and pitches Jake deGrom-like. So I'm picking the Mets, but I think the Braves will finish second in this division, and it'll take to the very end.
Now, who would have thought between me and you that I would have the homer pick and you would not? That's hysterical. I like it, though. I guess while we were gone away from each other for 2 weeks, JJ, you kind of I turned into you, and you turned into me. All right, Mark, 84 wins. Does that get the job done in the NL East, or does somebody get on a hot streak? I'm sticking with it. 85 wins gets this baby done.
I think it might be close to 90. I think the Phillies are going to do it. I really do. I've been on the Phillies wagon the whole time this year. I like their makeup. I like their bats. I like the pickups. They stole a couple guys from Wayne's neck of the woods in Kennedy and Gibson from the Rangers. They can match the Mets. I think if you sit around here and you know, it's kind of like in anything. If you don't teach anybody anything and you just sit around and you watch somebody do everything, then when that guy sits, you know, or stays away for quite a few weeks, like DeGrom is, the Mets don't know how to pick up the pieces. Even though they picked up Hill, they picked up Williams, they can eat up innings. They got Baez there, but I've always looked at the Mets as a team that really hasn't done anything since Terry Collins has left a few years back. That took him to the World Series to play the Royals. So I'm not on the Mets. I like the Phillies. If the Phillies can shore up that back end of the bullpen a little, they're going to be something. Washington's been a garage sale of late, and Atlanta's trying to pick up the pieces after Acuna's gone down. But their real problem has been, it was addressed in the wintertime. They haven't woken up from falling behind 3-1, or in front of the Dodgers 3-1, and taking care of that bullpen and losing Melanson and not re-signing him. So I think it's a work in progress. I don't see Atlanta challenging him either, and I'm sure I'll hear a lot of comments out of Dixie.
Once again, speaking of garage sales, Wayne, the Rangers had a garage sale. The Pirates had a garage sale. I'm surprised Detroit didn't have a garage sale. They did not. They only gave up on Norris. So now with all the garage sales, Washington had a garage sale. After all the trade deadlines, I have Atlanta. JJ has the Mets. Mark has Washington. Wayne, who do you have winning it? And briefly tell us why. Tell us why.
Well, yeah, I don't even really think the National League East is really a point because Milwaukee and San Francisco are so much stronger that regardless of what happens in the East, I don't think they're going to end up going to the World Series, anybody from the East.
Yeah, but who's going to win it, though? Yeah, I don't think any of the teams from the AL East will win it. You're right. I don't think, the NL East. But who wins the division? Who do you got?
I would have to pick the Mets just because I feel like they've got a lot more momentum behind them.
Okay, that's all right. So we got 2 Mets picks, 1 Atlanta and 1 Washington. Let's stick with the Braves, guys. JJ, you and I had an interesting conversation when I was driving in the road earlier today when I was in Kentucky. We talked about what the Braves are going to do in the outfield. And, they have an interesting proposition because, they got Jock Peterson. And, what are they going to do with Ozuna when he comes back? Because you told me he's on the 10-day IL. They expect him back because all the charges were dropped. What are they going to do in the outfield, man? That's right there. Somebody's going to sit.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It looks like Marcell Ozuna will be back at some point. Major League Baseball has yet to drop the suspension. His felony charges were all dropped to misdemeanors. And it looks like, with the way the Dodgers handled Trevor Bauer, he was suspended immediately. So Ozuna, no suspension. If he is able to come back, you're right. What kind of problem does that face? Because he's got a $64 million contract over the next 4 years. Money would tell me that he would play. And if you look at the back of the career baseball cards that we like to do so much, TC, I think he's a better ball player than Jock Peterson, but not in the outfield, not defensively. Jock Peterson is a much better defensive outfielder than Marcell Ozuna. So then comes a real problem, a real dilemma for general manager Alex Anthopoulos. Do you try and deal Ozuna and get something in the offseason for him, or do you try and just stick around, let him play, or do you see if Major League Baseball ends up coming down with the suspension? Because these are all unknown questions, but it does look like as of right now, Marcell Ozuna has been dropped to the 10-day IL. Right now I'm looking at it at ESPN.com. He is on the 10-day injured list as of August 4th. So that is news to everybody, and it's a good problem to have if you're Brian Snicker, a tough problem to have if you're Alex Anthopoulos. But you ask me, I think Ozuna, if he is able to play by the end of the season, you got to put him in the lineup.
So who do you take out? Because you've got Duvall in left, Jock Peterson in center.
That's Jock Peterson. I would take out Jock Peterson because on the back of the baseball card, Ozuna's going to hit better. And we did that last year in the 60-game season with Ozuna. We said we're going to take the liability in left field and keep him there, and it worked out for the Braves extremely well. So you hope that same problem happens. And, look, he didn't even do that bad in his time in left field for the Atlanta Braves. It's not like he's dropping fly balls and he's not getting to baseballs and making incredible bad errors. He's playing a decent left field. So I would put him in instead of Jock Peterson if he's able to come back and there is no suspension.
Well, then who plays center field if Jock Peterson's not in there? Because he's the best defensive outfielder by far. Heredia?
You're going to have to plan tune, and that's where it comes in. I'm talking Snitker's going to have a heyday. He's going to have to figure out who wants to bat and who wants to play center field and who wants to take over the scraps in right field. I mean,
we all know who's playing right field, obviously.
Correct. So it's between, honestly, I think you'll put Ozuna and maybe it's going to be Ozuna, Peterson, and Duvall. Maybe Soler's the odd man out right here, and that's another option you could go.
He's got the best arm. JJ, he's got the best arm. That's why he's in right field. So
correct,
I think it could be
but if you're going strictly batting purposes here, and like I said, Marcell Ozuna didn't play a terrible left field last year. He really didn't. So if you stick him there, you stick Duvall in right field, who's got some experience there, and you want to play Peterson, you could do it that way. But if you ask me, I just tune them all out. I'd put everybody wherever they feel comfortable that night. I mean, they're all Major League Baseball players. They can all play center field. They can all play left field. It's going to have to be a makeshift type deal because obviously nobody thought Ozuna was going to be able to come back this season.
Okay, bottom line, what do you do? What's your outfield?
My outfield would be Ozuna. I'd put Soler as the bench player. You'd have Duvall in right field, and you'd go with Peterson. So I guess I would change my aspect, and I'd put Soler on the bench. I'd go Peterson in center and Duvall in right field. That's what I would do. Actually, I'm changing my mind. I said it right there. I'd put Peterson in center because you are right. He is the best defensive center fielder out of the bunch. Soler's on the bench. He comes in along with Heredia. You put Duvall in right field, Ozuna on left, and you hope Ozuna can hit 365 or 350, whatever he hit in the playoffs for you, or in the 60-game season last year. He hit above 300. And it's just a good problem to have if you're Brian Snitker. It's a tough problem to have if you're Alex Anthopoulos.
Well, if Ozuna comes back, and it looks like he will come back, you got to have Jock Peterson in center. He's your best defensive outfielder. Soler's your best defensive right fielder. He's got the best arm. They're going to have to platoon in left and play Duvall. You know, there was a DH, of course, in the NL. The problem would be solved. I mean, but there's not. So we'll see what they do. Let's move on. Let's go on to college football. We all know that Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC, and Greg Sankey, he should be running the NCAA. There's no question about it. This guy's playing chess, and the rest of the conferences are playing checkers. You know, the thing is, when I look at it, Mark, and then I'll go to JJ, then Wayne, did Texas go to them, or did the SEC go to Texas? My opinion, and it's only a gut feeling because I have no proof, I think Texas and Oklahoma went to the SEC, and the SEC welcomed them with open arms. And the second point is now, look, everybody's freaking out where everybody's going to go. But as Nick Saban would say, this is the beginning of the process. It'll all get self-worked out. Yeah, the Big 12 may not be the Big 12. We don't know that yet. They could go with the AAC. The Big 10 and the Pac-12 can combine. The ACC and the SEC can combine. I don't think that'll happen. They may purge from there. This thing is endless, but whatever we get, super conferences are on the way, and if you're trying to purge the Pac-12, it starts and ends with Southern California, Mark.
Well, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think what's happened is the SEC got stronger. I think Texas and Oklahoma came to them, and now the other conferences are scrambling just to try to keep up with these. I mean, the SEC was a bludgeon force to begin with. Everybody looked at them as a top, bar anyhow, but now you had these two powerhouses in there. I'm surprised, when you looked at it, the Big Ten didn't try to go get a Cincinnati or something in their conference, and now, the Pac-12 is kind of looking and saying, well, people don't look at us. They don't know what's going on because, if they're not watching the SEC, they're going out partying. They don't turn on the TVs of the bars in the South to watch the Pac-12. That's kind of like, watching reruns of Gunsmoke or something. It's just not exciting. So this is the problem. What's happening now is the rest of the conferences are trying to come up with super conferences too. Doesn't matter if the Big Ten gets in there, the Big 12, whatever, and put it with the Pac-12. They're not going to compete with the SEC, hands down.
We got to have a commissioner for college football. It's got to be Greg Sankey. Like I said, he's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers. Everybody's panicking. I think it's way too soon to panic. They're going to work this thing out. We've been through a conference alignment before. I actually think in the long run it may be better for the game. I know it's kind of a crazy thought, but, even the bottom schools in the Big 12, they would vote for Sankey as commissioner, even though they feel the rug has been pulled out from them by Texas and OU. But, Kansas looking to go to the Big Ten, that doesn't excite me for football for the Big Ten. It excites me for basketball. So now that the SEC has made this move, I can't wait, JJ, for the rest of the dominoes to fall, and they may not fall for a year. I mean, it may be during the off-season when they start falling, or who knows. People are on the phone right now as we speak. But I'm actually excited because I think it's only going to get better despite the negativity from the NIL and from that.
Well, I definitely think that Texas and Oklahoma reached out together because without Texas, you don't have Oklahoma. They're one and basically the same in the Big 12. I think Greg Sankey, as you mentioned before, is a men amongst boys in the terms of commissioners. He looked ahead and said, hey, let's go ahead and bring these guys in for two reasons. Name, image, likeness. You're getting more money. And two, in a couple years, he said it on Paul Feinbaum. Who knows if in a couple years, name, image, likeness evolves into these kids get some of the TV contracts and some of the money output from these schools. So if that's the case, you need more money to supply more money to the players if they do get that. So that's a step ahead, way in advance, and that's something Commissioner Sankey is doing above and beyond every other commissioner. He's looking out for the future of the SEC time and time again. So I do think Greg Sankey would be the best czar, commissioner, president, whatever you want to call it, for college football. I also think the SEC is better than every other conference without Texas and OU. You bring in Texas and Oklahoma, you're bringing in not only the schools, but you're bringing in three great football rivalries in terms of just football alone. You're bringing in Texas OU, the Red River rivalry. You're bringing in Texas and Arkansas, which was an old Southwest conference, and you're bringing in Texas and A&M again, which would probably be a year-round matchup, which it should be in college football. So this is all good, and it just goes to show kudos to you, Greg Sankey, for going above and beyond for the SEC, because it does mean more.
Well, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. Wayne, you're an AAC guy. It's really hard to tell what the future is for that conference. Do they combine with the Big 12? Your thoughts on that very quickly.
Well, more of my thoughts are focused back on the SEC. And I think that the reason for Texas and Oklahoma moving to the SEC, how it happened, why it happens, not as important as the fact that now the SEC needs to realign. And I think if they're going to stick with an East-West, what they need to do is move Missouri from the East to the West and put Oklahoma and Texas in the West, move Mississippi State, Alabama, and Auburn to the East.
Wow. Well, hey, you know what? You never know. I mean, look, that's not far-fetched. It really is not. So we're going to find out. But, guys, I'm going to stick with college football because this fascinates me. JJ sent this to me this morning when we were having a conversation. I already knew about it. Quinn Ewers skipped his high school senior year to go play at Ohio State. And by the way, what he's doing this for, show me the money in NIL. He's going to get a lot of money to do it. So he's skipping his senior year of high school. He probably won't play for the Buckeyes this year. I would be shocked. But he gets to practice with them and to see what he can do. But, by the way, he's making a lot of money. Mark, JJ, and Wayne, very quickly, a minute on this, from each one of you on this. Do you see this as a trend in the future? I think it's only the beginning. And is it right or wrong? It is what it is.
Well, I think what's happening is a trend. I think, you're seeing that these guys are making money, so why not everybody else make some money in it? College football is now a business across the board. You're starting to see it. I think, I looked at it after the whole Johnny Manziel situation when he put Texas A&M on the map, and, they were making money on his own name. How can people make money on your own name without you making money on your own name? I just don't quite understand that. That would be unconstitutional in some parts. But, it's crazy to say that, and I think times have changed. And then Ed O'Bannon came around and, racked it up a few more things on the bar, too, saying, you know what, we need to take the NCAA to court. I think when you look at the NCAA, they're a relic. They're going to be gone here soon. And I've been saying that, and I've been beating that drum for quite a while.
All right,
yeah,
JJ, I believe you, Mark. I think the NCAA is gone, too. JJ, this is definitely a trend. It's only the beginning. I think you're going to see high school basketball players skip their senior year. It's going to get very interesting now that the money is there for the athletes to make.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Quinn Ewers is definitely going to be a trailblazer. I think you'll see a lot more kids who are eligible to make name, image, likeness, like Ewers is, who's a five-star prospect, who's basically already committed to Ohio State. And you'll see just the top of the classes. I think the top players at each position will be able to do something like this. I don't think all the way down the board you'll see this as a trendsetter, but for the top players at their position and their recruiting status, yeah, I think this will be the start of a trend. He'll be able to sit down, get college knowledge right off the bat. He doesn't have to sit and do another high school film study or risk injury, so it is good for him. But is it good for college football as a whole? I'm not sure.
I was going to say, Wayne, sorry about that, JJ. We're running out of time. Wayne, from an old school guy perspective, which is one you and I have, I don't think you're missing your senior year of high school. It's something you only get once in life. What is your response when you see stories like this?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a problem until kids that are under 18 start doing this mess, and it's the parents who end up cashing in because they're the ones controlling the kid. And that's going to be a huge problem because you're going to end up with kids wanting to sue their parents for the rights to their name because they were under 18 when they signed up for whatever college or NFL team they signed up for.
You know what? Wow, that was short and sweet. You know what? I absolutely could see something like that coming. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Anyway, what a story. You know, this kid, he committed originally to Texas, and then all of a sudden, hey, this all started because in the state of Texas and Florida, you can only make so much money off your NIL. He decided to heck with that. I can go to Ohio State, register, sign on, go play right now, and oh, by the way, I can make money right now. It's always about the money, and our slogan is, show me the money, and Ohio State's going to show them the money. So now we'll go ahead and go on to, oh gosh, let's go to the NFL. We'll talk sports.
Well, there's not much to talk about in the NFL except that the Hall of Fame game yesterday looked good. It was nice to see the overhyped Cowboys get beat. JJ?
16-3 in the Hall of Fame game. Steelers opened up, or the Cowboys, I should say, opened up with a 3-0 lead. Steelers came back on them. Najee Harris looked pretty good. Looked like he was reading the defense pretty well. Looks like he's carried over his momentum from Alabama to the NFL. But what we want to talk about, it is ATL Prime Sports. Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Coming off a rough season, a 4-12 season to be exact last year. New head coach, new general manager. The ceiling for this Atlanta franchise, and I'll start it off. I see them winning 9 games. I see them going 9-8. I think they have a winnable first 3 of their first 4 games. They do play Tampa Bay, or should I say Champa Bay, on the road in week 2, I believe. So very, very, very manageable first 4 games, but tough second game for the Atlanta Falcons. And look, they don't have a bell cow running back. It's going to be up to Mike Davis and Quadri Olison, who is looking like your 1 and 2 running backs right now. Cordero Patterson was signed from Chicago. Looks like he's going to be your third stringer. It's just going to be tough. Kyle Pitts, Calvin Ridley is going to be looking like your wide receivers. It does look like Kyle Pitts will be used more as a wide receiver than a tight end. So maybe that's your replacement for Julio Jones. And the offensive line has a couple first-round draft picks down there who really should take a step forward this year. So I see the Falcons finishing 3rd or 4th in this division, really depending on what Jameis Winston and the New Orleans Saints do over there in New Orleans. But I see the division going to the Buccaneers. I see the much-improved Panthers finishing 2nd in this division, maybe even making a playoff push with Sam Darnold and Run CMC. And I see the Falcons again finishing probably 3rd or 4th in this division, depending on what Jameis Winston does in New Orleans. TC, what do you think of the ceiling for the Atlanta Falcons?
We've got less than 2 minutes of the show. I'm not going to sit here and give predictions what the Falcons are going to do. It's too early. The most interesting story to me is no Julio Jones. We all know he was traded to Tennessee. It was a money crunch situation. And I want to know how it affects the offense because, JJ, you said there is no bell cow at running back. The offensive line is young. It is not elite. It is young in areas and with the draft picks. And you know, people are going to double up on Calvin Ridley. You may disagree with me, but they may start doubling up on him. And if they do, you know, that's going to give the Falcons a problem. The team is going to have to run the ball to be successful, and they haven't done it in a while. And now without Julio, Calvin Ridley's doubled. Of course, you've got the tight end out of Florida, but you know what? He's a rookie. We'll see how he does. To me, the Falcons have a lot of question marks, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but more of them on the defensive side of the ball. We got less than a minute left in the show, Mark. What are your thoughts on Julio Jones now being there, what it does to the Atlanta offense? We got about 30 seconds.
Well, I think, you know, take your reference, it was a checkbook grab, and Tennessee gave him the money. Add to, you know, JJ's thing, and like Wayne's comment, and as we wind it down, too, that, you know, the Falcons are going to be interested. Who knows? I think they're on the Mendoza line there in baseball. If you look at it like that, you don't know if they're going to be a game over 500, under 500 by a game, but Tampa's the cream of the crop there. I will tell you this. You better keep your eyes on my Washington Redskins because they're going to be a tough team to contend with across the board to throw them into the mix in the NFC.
Yeah, in the NFC, but they're not in the NFC South. So that'll be interesting, though. We'll see how that works out. We're out of time, guys. It's been a great to hear from all of you. I know it's been a long 2 weeks for myself and my family. Talking sports takes it away a little bit, and I appreciate it. Next week we'll have a guest on. Till then, we'll talk to you guys all next week. Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Get you one.